Tales of Mithrym.
Scales of Justice, read by Ennatos. Part 8. The Hunt. At least an hour passed as the three of them held their vigil. There seemed to be little activity from the warden station, with seemingly no one coming or going for a time. On the higher stories, lamps were extinguished as the last of the day's shift went to sleep, and there was a cool stillness to the air of the street outside. At one point, the large front door, now closed for the night, opened as the corporal on duty stepped out and lit up a cigar. Orange lamplight spilled out as they watched her. The scent of tobacco drifted down the way. The nearby shops and houses were still and quiet, though, with doors bolted and windows shuttered from the night. At length, the woman returned inside, and the door was shut again.
"This is no good,"
Derville whispered in frustration.
"We have to wait,"
Elvin whispered back.
"I'm going to get a better look."
Derville shifted and began to climb a nearby trellis to the roof above.
"Wait!"
Elvin called after her. Ducky and Derville both shushed him as the sound echoed and carried down the street. Derville dropped quietly back down and knelt beside him.
"What?"
she whispered.
"We need some way to signal if we see something,"
Elvin explained while looking back over to the station. Ducky held out a hand. In it was the ring he had been given that day by the sergeant. He smiled.
"No, it's too risky,"
Derville whispered.
Not if we don't talk,
Ducky said while moving to slip the ring on.
"Someone could be watching."
Derville made to stop him.
So what? They won't know it's us. They'll just see what we see. And that's what we want, isn't it? They'll know who's letting the dragons out.
"It is a risky plan,"
Elvin stroked his chin.
"but I reckon we can manage it."
Derville sighed.
"Fine,"
she said, pulling out her own ring and slipping it on. They all felt the same dizzy unease as before, as they became aware of each other's vision. Derville quickly turned away from them, though, so that neither was in sight as she made her way to the roof above. From the rooftop, Derville could make out the stables behind the station. The enormous beasts were asleep in their pen. There was the sound of a shutter as the last of the lights from inside the station went out, and the whole area plunged into darkness. Under her breath, Derville cursed the darkness. She was about to make her way back down, until she realized she could make out movement. A shadow lost in the greater darkness. It was odd to watch, almost like a greater emptiness, but it had a form. The others saw it too. Large feet were treading lightly on the ground, and then, for a brief moment, green light flickered as a large, broad mouth opened and closed. Elvin and Ducky craned to look closer. It was at that moment that their luck began to shift, though. Ducky, who had been leaning hard on a wooden crate, leaned further forward to get a better look. His large hand, propelled by the weight of his body and the plate armor on it, splintered the wood, and the crack rippled out into the night. Elvin had already ducked back down, but Ducky, transfixed by the face of the creature, found himself looking up into two wide yellow eyes. The mouth opened again, and there was a grumble that turned into a roar as the green light grew again. Ducky did not wait to find out what came next, though. He sprang to his feet and headed off down the street. He could hear the feet of the dragon following behind him, and, in his mind's eye, he was dimly aware of Elvin keeping pace while Derville followed on the rooftops above. He ignored these images, though, keenly focusing his mind on the path ahead and looking for any possible escape. He ran, keeping pace as he had never managed before, all the time aware of the feet running behind him. He continued down the street until it opened out into a market square. Over to one side, he could make out a merchant's cart and a number of boxes beside it. He could use them to reach the roof. But then what? No, that thing could fly, and he most certainly could not. Elvin continued along the street, sticking to the shadows and staying at the side as much as possible to avoid drawing attention to himself. He could see Dervil's view too, looking down on the running beast. It struck him at about the same moment it did her too. "There's no one riding it!" He could not help thinking it. He was sure he could hear Derville sigh as he did, though. "You're right," she replied. "Just keep quiet, though, and don't let it out of your sight." They ran on. Back in front, Ducky began to run for the wall. The beast followed him. At the last, though, he offered up a hasty prayer to Castilla as he swerved to the side and reached for a nearby door. It was unlocked. He almost fell through the doorway as he then hastily spun on the spot and slammed the door shut behind him. The dragon came to a halt outside. Ducky could hear it sniffing. Slowly, he began to make his way through the apparently empty house. It was a small building, only one room deep and with a ladder to the upper floor. At the rear, he could see another doorway to the yard behind. He crept over and tried the handle. The door swung in and the cool night air drifted in with it. Back outside, Elvin darted behind a cart, and Derville held firm on the rooftop as they watched the creature. It paced up and down, then, perceiving that its prey was gone, spread its wings and took to the air. Derville threw herself flat onto the rooftop as it passed overhead. It seemed to have missed her, though. Hiding from the night, they could both see clearly through Ducky's eyes as he made his way out of the back of the building. The yard behind led into a warren of twittens and paths that cut through the mass of buildings. He cautiously made his way along, looking for a way back. Suddenly there was a sound. More footsteps. These did not appear to be animal, though. Something in the sound put Ducky in mind of boots. Moments later, he was dimly aware of a figure running through the night. Ducking back into the shadows, he watched as a young woman ran past. She was holding a bundle, and far off, he could hear the sounds of pursuing wardens. They did not seem to know where she had gotten to, though. Shouts and cries of, "Try that way!" and "She can't have disappeared!" could be heard in the distance. The woman clearly knew she had evaded them too, as she stopped and caught her breath, checking the package she was carrying before looking around for another direction to head in. Ducky was about to step over to her when he felt an odd shift in the air. The shadows seemed to become darker somehow, as everything fell into all too sharp a focus. Heavy footfall could just about be heard as a pair of black wings folded, and the woman turned to see what was there. Green fire engulfed her.
Tales of Mithrym are written by Jimmy Clephane. Mithrym is a fantasy world built for the Dungeon Room role-playing game system. To find out more about the world of Mithrym, or to try out the game, go to www.mithrym.com.